live. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back for yet another exciting episode of yours truly. Sorry for the background noise and distractions. Let me tighten up this situation a little bit. Y'all bear with me. Wanted to get on here a little earlier today, but you know what they say, better late than never, right? There we go. Make sure my background music is on. All right, what's going on, y'all? So you see the thumbnail, you see the title. You know what we're talking about. Today we're talking about September 11th. Remember, 11th of September. Remember the 11th of September. This is a very important day in history, especially for the United States, especially for the 21st century. This is how we're starting off the 21st century in 2001. We're starting it off with a bang, aren't we? It seems that way. So today, I don't have a whole lot of media for y'all. I'm not going to be going through too many articles. I'm not going to be going through too many YouTube videos. Today, I'm just going to chronicle where I was on September 11th, 2001, and how things have changed in America. Things have changed politically. Things have changed nationally in America and internationally on the global stage, because we're talking about the course of, it's really not that long a time, 20 years. This is 2023 now. The attacks on September 11th occurred in 2001. You would be surprised how much change and how comfortable Americans especially, but people all around the world, how comfortable people have gotten with sacrificing our freedoms. You know, there used to be a time when people really cared about our freedoms. People really cared about the government, don't tread on me. That really meant something when you would tell the government, hey, don't tread on me. Don't step on my rights. I have a right to do this. I have a right. They used to mean something. But now, since September 11th, there's a debate. How much freedom are you willing to sacrifice in the name of safety and security? And this debate uh, really got very clear for the first time, at least in my lifetime, after 9/11, after the attacks on the Twin Towers, the attacks on the Pentagon. That's the first time it's really been evident that, hey, we might have to sacrifice some freedoms, or we might have to sacrifice some of our rights, some of our freedoms, in the name of security and safety. Since then, it's just been a race to the bottom. It's just been disaster after disaster, and with each disaster, we take one step closer to giving up more of our rights, to becoming a police state, to becoming a fascist society. You know, that word fascist is being thrown around a lot in debates these days. I'm going to try to stay away from it. But since September 11th, there's been a clear reducing of Americans' freedoms. I don't think that's even debatable. So, for the sake of clarity, I'm just going to quickly chronicle where I was in 2001. I'm still a young man. In 2001, I was a child. I might have been in the fifth grade, something like that, right? I was just coming down from, I just moved from DC to Atlanta, maybe a year or so before that. I think the year before that, I think in 2000, I moved down to Atlanta from DC. My dad, I think, was still in DC at the time. Uncles, cousins, family still up there in DC. And 2001, this is before cell phones were all prevalent and all kids were running around with. Nowadays, kids are running around with Apple Watches and cell phones, so we had information. Back in 2001, this was before iPhone. This was before, you know, This was before the prevalence of cell phones. So when the news hit that there's been an attack on the Twin Towers, there's been an attack on in New York, down in Atlanta, I'm a kid, I'm in school. We don't know what's going on with our family members. My dad's in DC. We get word, oh, there's been an attack on the Pentagon. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what DC looks like. We don't know what New York looks like. We don't know what's going on. Right? We can't just text and call, hey dad, you okay? Hey mom, what's going on? No, there was not that much technology at that time. Now maybe some of the teachers had it, but us kids, unless your parents came, because a lot of parents did come and pick up their kids on September 11th. Even down in Atlanta, people were not sure because first New York was hit, then DC was hit. So we weren't sure if this was going to be a mass scale invasion. We weren't sure if this was going to be, Atlanta's next. Atlanta's a major city on the East Coast, Southeast. We weren't sure if LA was a target. I have family members in LA. My granddad at the time was living in LA. So it was just a lot of confusion and a lot of confusion, a lot of worry, a lot of things up in the air, a lot of questions, a lot of unanswered questions. But immediately following the attacks on September 11th, I remember there being a lot of, now, full disclosure, my stepdad is a lieutenant colonel in the army. In the time, he was still in the army. Now he's retired, but at the time he was still in the army. So we didn't really know what this would mean for, you know, for our family. We didn't really know what this was going to mean for the country. But quickly after September 11th, uh, there were protests because George Bush wanted to respond by invading Iraq and Afghanistan. George Bush wanted to invade Iraq. He wanted to pass the Patriot Act. I think he passed in 2001 also. He passed the Patriot Act. He wanted to invade. He wanted to invade Iraq. So people already, even at this time, I remember very distinctly. I remember people very distinctly were pushing back from the loss of freedoms. The Patriot Act was passed in October of 2001. So less than a month, maybe a little bit, 6 weeks after the attacks on September 11th, the Patriot Act was passed, and people were out protesting. I remember very distinctly people were like, no, we don't want to give up our freedoms. I used to fly around with my mom a lot, going to airports and go and visit. Like I said, I got family all over, so I'm flying to DC. Because my mom's in Atlanta, my dad's in DC. So I'm flying to DC, flying to visit grandparents in LA. When we're taking these planes, you're starting to see, wait, now we have to take off our shoes? We have to go through metal detectors? Before 2001, I mean, I got a lot of young folks on my channel. I'm young, so I know a lot of my viewers are young too. They might not remember, or some of you older folks who do remember, you might remember airplanes, airports. The process that you had to go through going through airports has massively changed since 2001. And we take it for granted now in 2023. Like, of course, you have to go into the airport and you have to take an X-ray every time you go to the airport. You have to take off your shoes every time you go to the airport. But this wasn't always the case. I remember myself, even being a young man at the time. I used to fly a lot, with my family members and whatnot. We didn't used to take off our shoes. We didn't used to get X-rays going through the airports. We didn't used to have a Patriot Act. A lot of things changed, and people at that time were very upset. People were not happy about. First of all, of course, they weren't happy about 9/11, the attacks, but they weren't happy about the government response to these attacks. There was a lot of blame for George Bush. George Bush is taking us into, war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, George Bush, what is he? Now, there were a lot of people who supported it. Hey, they attacked us. Let's go get them. But there was a lot more of that. Let's go attack those who attacked us, more so than let's give up our rights. I think everyone had a little bit of hey, let's go get revenge and get those people who attacked us, Osama bin Laden and whatnot. But nobody really was comfortable giving up their rights. People accepted it reluctantly. People accepted it very reluctantly. I'm saying this because hey, maybe 10 years down the line, my kids can go back and watch this video. So let me document what I'm thinking about now. Because you'd be surprised how history repeats itself, right? So in 2001, the country was attacked. The president at the time, George Bush, responded by getting revenge in Iraq, which had nothing to do with September 11th. Getting revenge in Afghanistan, which, okay, that's a little bit more reasonable, even though ultimately Osama bin Laden was found in Pakistan. That's a story for another day. Afghanistan makes a little bit more sense, even though I think it had a lot more to do with the poppy seeds over there, the poppy seeds and the oil. That's a conversation for another day. Iraq was totally out of left field, totally unjustified, but anyone who knows anything about the economic system, we understand that at that time George Bush was invading Iraq he made up lies about weapons of mass destruction, which were never there. He lied us into Iraq, committing multiple war crimes. To this day, he's never faced any charges, unlike Donald Trump. I don't know how he pulled that off. Democrats. President Obama specifically said, "Oh, we're looking to the future. We're not going to look to the past." When asked about should President George Bush face war crimes for torturing people in Abu Ghraib, for lying us into a legal preemptive war of aggression in Iraq, should George Bush face charges? Obama says no. Okay, check. So we're losing American people as a result of 9/11. Lost a lot of rights, a lot of freedoms, and we got more comfortable with the government taking actions, preemptive wars, preemptive strikes, in the name of war on terrorism, right? The war on terrorism. We're now giving the president, the executive branch, and no longer our legislative branch has rights over when and where we go to war. See, there used to be something called a constitution, which says that we cannot go to war except via an act of Congress. However, after 9/11, this kind of morphed. Now we don't go to war officially. Now we have an ongoing war on terrorism. We've given a lot more powers to the president, taken a lot of our powers from the legislative and from the people. Now a lot more powers of the war pen is in the hands of our president. And that's very important. Because you see, that whole decade, 2001 through 2011, moving through into the Obama administration, if we just document and sit down and think about the steady progression that we went through to get here in 2023, is really, really interesting. It's really, really interesting if you think about how we got here. How is it that America has given up so much power? American people have given up so many freedoms and so much authority to the executive branch to decide what wars we're going to support. Mind you, when President Obama was elected, before he was elected, see, he was running, what was it, in 2008? He took office in 2009, right? Now, I didn't vote for President Obama ever. And the first time, full disclosure, I was too young. I was 17. I turned 18 in 2009. You can do the math on how old I am. So the first time I didn't get a chance to vote for him. After 2009, in 2010, I joined the Army. In 2000 and following, when I joined the Army, I was still in school at the time. and I was learning political science. I was learning about politics. I was learning about international politics specifically. And I was taking a look at President Obama, and I was trying to understand his stance on Libya. Because when President, and I remember this because I was too young to vote, but I was already interested in politics. Like I said, my stepdad was a army lieutenant colonel in the army at the time, so I was still really interested in the military, the army, politics, presidents, presidential races, stuff like that. I was really interested in politics at that time. So I was looking at this guy Obama and I was thinking, okay, this is a black man and he's running for president. He wins president and he has a mandate to get us out of the war of Iraq, because by this time, this is 2008 moving into 2009 now, people know that there are no weapons of mass destruction. People know that George Bush lied to the American people saying we have to preemptively, which is illegal. George Bush started an illegal war against Iraq on the basis of weapons of mass destruction, which were never there and were never found. People were asking, hey, are we going to prosecute George Bush for lying us into this war? He's a war criminal. Obama says, no, we're going to have a illegal war and we're going to turn a blind eye. Give the president a pass for lying to the people. Give the president a pass for 1 million dead Iraqis. Give the president a pass for hundreds of thousands of dead American soldiers, dead and wounded American soldiers. Alright? This is Obama saying this. I'm like, okay. At this time, we're going through the financial crisis of 2008. So people are losing their homes. People are upset. But people are like, this is a black president, our first black president. He's giving us hope and change. Right? President Obama is running for president based on the idea that he will be a figure of change in the country. We won't no longer have these illegal wars of aggression because President Obama, a black man with a Muslim name, he's president now. There's no way this black president, quote unquote black, not foundational black American, another topic for another day. But this Kenyan, this African, this black man with a Muslim sounding name, there's no way he would allow America to continue to go into a war that's clearly illegal. There's no way. He's running on, I'm going to get us out. I'm going to close down Abu Ghraib. I'm going to close it down. I'm going to close Abu Ghraib. I'm going to get us out of Iraq. This is what Obama's promising. Change. Hope and change. Sounds good. I'm all for it. Let's go, Obama. Woo woo. This is 2009. I'm too young. I'm too young to vote. I'm sorry. Voting is in November of 2008. I turned 18 March of 2009. Sorry, I can't vote for you this time, but if I could, I got your back, Obama. 4 years go by. Fast forward a little bit. And we get into 2014, 2013. Now we start seeing let's say 4 or 5 years go by. Let's move into 2014. Now we start seeing President Obama bragging about killing Colonel Gaddafi in Libya. Now I'm in the army at this time. I got a shaved head, buzzed head. I got pictures up on Instagram. I should have, like I said, I'm just on here just ranting today. So I didn't prepare a whole lot of images for y'all. I could have, shown y'all some pictures. Maybe I'll show y'all some. I'll leave it alone. But yeah. So I was in the army, shaved head, shaved chin. In the army. And I'm looking at this black man bragging. I'm looking at Hillary Clinton bragging. We came, we saw, he died. Talking about Colonel Gaddafi, the president of the richest country in Africa. the president who's trying to solidify the African Union, the president who's pushing a gold-backed dinar, an African currency, an African unified gold-backed currency, and they're bragging about killing this man. Now I'm in the army at the time, and I'm still young, but I'm thinking, this does not add up. What did Libya do to Americans? First of all, now I'm in full uniform. I'm talking about full uniform, and I'm thinking, what did Iraq do to Afghanistan? What did Iraq do to Americans? I can't come up with an answer. But I'm willing to look past Iraq. I'm willing to look past Afghanistan because at least, hey, we were attacked on 9/11. Internet wasn't big at this time. We were just now getting iPhones, right? We 2014. We got some 2009. We were just getting iPhones in 2009. I think the first iPhone came out 2007. So we're just getting used to iPhones in 2009. We're just getting used to, and even once you get your iPhone, there was no YouTube. You got to think this stuff came much later. There was no YouTube in 2009. There was no Google. When did Google come out? I don't think Google was big like that in 2009. Okay, Google since '98. Google was here, but it wasn't big like it is now. It was not big like it is now. All right. So what I'm saying is there was not a plethora of information explaining to folks like myself the real reason we got into Iraq, being the fact that Saddam Hussein, the president of Iraq, decided not to sell his oil in US dollars. He decided to sell his oil in euro. And that's what sparked the war of aggression in Iraq. Because this is an attack on the petrodollar. This is an economic attack. I didn't understand that at the time. I didn't have the information. I didn't know. I knew we were attacked on 9/11. We're going in there. Yeah, there's no weapons of mass destruction, but Osama bin Laden's out there. They can attack us again. Let's go do whatever we got to do. Let's get those who attacked us. I was willing to give a pass to Iraq and Afghanistan. But come 2014, I'm a little older. I've already taken an oath to the Constitution. I'm in full military uniform. And you can't explain to me why this Muslim-sounding black man is getting us into conflict with countries like Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria. Didn't you get elected with a mandate to get us out of Iraq and Afghanistan? Not only are we still in Iraq, not only are we still in Afghanistan, now you're expanding us to Somalia, Sudan, Libya, Syria. Where are we going with this? And there's talks of Yemen. What's really going on? Lebanon. What's going on? This is a black president who was supposed to get us out of Iraq and Afghanistan, and out of 4 years, you've been in office for 4 years. You didn't give us Medicare for all. Not only that, you added into our 2 wars, you added 4 or 5 more. Now I'm starting to ask questions. Now I'm starting to look at things like, okay, what's really going on here in this military-industrial complex that I'm a part of at this time? I'm in full military uniform. I've taken an oath. I'm getting paid. I've got some questions for this war that I'm supposed to be supporting. I'm about to go get busy on. Fast forward. I'm like, nah, I don't know about supporting Obama in 2014. Not only that, I don't know about re-signing this contract. You want me to go back? You want me to go back to? I don't know. I don't know about this war I'm fighting in. I don't know. I don't know. I got too many questions. Let me out. Like O Dog. Like O Dog. What do you say? Let me out. Huh? Cuban Gooding Jr. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Minister Society. What is it? Let me out. Let me out, dog. I ain't riding on this. I ain't riding. Nah, let me out, dog. So, I get out the army, but I'm still interested in politics. Move back to DC. Going on with my life. Fast forward again. But you can see these major milestones that every time, and then mind you, we got the Patriot Act from George Bush, but then Obama also took away our rights with not the Patriot Act, the Obama took away our right of habeas corpus with his new NSA bill and renewing the Patriot Act. Right? President Obama is now renewing the Patriot Act and he's signing new NSA bills so that he can surveil, increasing the surveillance powers of the federal government. So now they can hack our phones. They can listen to our conversations online and on our phones. So I'm like, we're getting used to the theft of our freedoms with every president. We're just getting more and more. First it was Bush, we thought he was bad. Obama was supposed to be helping change, but he doubled down on the policies from George Bush. He made it worse, not better. He made it worse. And people, for some reason, were applauding him as if he was better than George Bush. I'm looking at it like at least George Bush was attacked in September 11th. At least he had some reason. At least George Bush had a reason to go into Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah, the weapons of mass destruction was a lie, but the attacks on September 11th were not a lie. Obama's not even giving us a reason. Obama's taking us into Libya, Syria, Somalia, Sudan. Have we been attacked? No. But ISIS. So we can just invade any country without being attacked on the basis of ISIS? What's ISIS got to do with us? Does ISIS have some planes that they're going to... Does ISIS have some ICBMs that they're going to... What exactly is the... What are we defending ourselves from in this situation? At this point, I don't know. At this point, I have too many questions and it's not adding up. So I gotta distance myself from the army. Gotta get out the army. Cannot resign a contract. No, I want out. I gotta get out. Not only that, I can't support Obama. Obama, you're supposed to be getting us out of these wars. You're adding to them. And they all seem illegal to me. I can't find the legal justification. But the legal justification is they're not wars. That's what they say. They're enemy combatants we're killing with drones, with troops, fellow soldiers dying. But it's not a war because officially Congress has not declared a war. Right? Okay. Check. So we go in past Obama. I'm like, it's not adding up. After Obama, 2016, right? 2016 comes. Hey, Obama was so great, the world says. We have to go and vote for Joe Biden. No, not Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton. I, at this time, am not looking at Barack Obama as if he was a good president. At this time, I'm thinking Barack Obama was worse than Bush, and the only difference between Barack Obama and Bush is people are applauding Obama. People were upset for George Bush when he started the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But Obama runs on the mandate of getting us out of Iraq and Afghanistan Not only does he not get us out of Iraq and Afghanistan, he adds wars to it. He adds a war in Syria. He adds a war in Somalia. He adds a war in Libya, killing Colonel Gaddafi. He's adding wars. He's not taking away. So what makes this president so much better than Bush? I don't know, but everyone around me is telling me Obama's the second coming. I'm not convinced. 2016 comes, listen, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton, who everyone's saying she's so great. I got too many questions. Democratic Party, I'm looking sideways at y'all already. I'm looking at what's going on with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders seems pretty consistent on his views of Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders seems pretty consistent on his views against the war in Iraq, against the war, the war in the military-industrial complex that was increased by President Obama. Bernie Sanders is a leftist who's not pushing the military, but who is actually standing on health care and social reforms here at home. Bernie Sanders, I can rock with you. I'm rocking, this is 2016. If you're just getting in, I'm giving a chronicle of how we went from 9/11, 2001, and fast forward all the way here to 2023. How is it that we've given up all these freedoms? We've gotten into all these wars in such a short period of time. It's only been 22 years. So if you're just getting in, that's what we're talking about. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. So we're in 2016. I'm out the army now. You know, I was in the army under Obama. I get out the army. I'm like, I don't like what you're doing, Obama. We're supposed to be getting out of Iraq, getting out of Afghanistan. Obama, you put us into new wars. I'm getting out the army. I'm looking at you sideways, Obama. I'm not a fan. Everyone's saying, oh, Obama's tapping Hillary Clinton. If Obama's vouching for you, Hillary Clinton, I'm not a big fan of you either, Hillary. Let's see what Bernie Sanders has to say. So I'm stepping for Bernie. I'm like, okay, let's get some social reforms here at home. Let's get out of all these wars. I don't know what Trump is doing. I don't know what he's got going on. But Bernie Sanders seems like he aligns with my policies the best. So I'm rocking with Bernie. 2016 comes. The DNC rigs the primaries, and everyone can see it. They rigged the primaries against Bernie Sanders and steals the primaries from Bernie Sanders, gives it to Hillary Clinton. Not only that, I'm going to fast forward, but before I say that, I'm looking at Hillary Clinton like, how is it? I know there's all these people supporting Bernie Sanders. People are voting for Bernie Sanders, but the super delegates are giving the votes. The people voted for Bernie, and you're giving these votes to Hillary Clinton? I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen the people vote for one president candidate and the delegates give those votes to someone else. I maybe I'm young. I had never seen that at the time. I'm like, it's rigged. I'm checking out altogether. I'm pushing third parties just to get away from all of this madness here between Hillary Clinton and Trump. I'm going third party. Throw my vote away. Just protest. I'm protesting. I'm voting for Jill Stein. All right. Just I'm crossing my hands. I'm frustrated. Hillary, you done stole the elections from Bernie. Trump, people calling you racist. I don't know what you got going on. I mean, you're talking about as good people on both sides. You're talking about grabbed her by the pussy. You're talking about, listen, Trump, I don't know what you're standing for. I'm not a Republican. I'm a leftist. So both Republicans and Democrats, y'all both lost me. I'm going with the protest vote. I'm going Jill Stein. So I jumped out the window back in 2016. After they stole the election from Bernie Sanders, that was the final straw for me. And I haven't looked back since. So, later that year, in 2016, just for clarity and just for the record, it was argued in federal court, that the DNC has the right, the legitimate right, to steal an election, to rig an election from its candidates. And I'm going to show you that. Let me share my screen here. Court concedes DNC had the right to rig the primaries against Sanders. The court affirmed that the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz held a palpable bias in favor of Hillary Clinton. In 2016, a class action lawsuit was filed against the Democratic National Committee and former DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz for violating the DNC charter by rigging the Democratic presidential primaries for Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders. Even former Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid admitted in 2016, "I knew, everybody knew, that this was not a fair deal." Excuse me. He added, that Debbie Wasserman Schultz should have resigned much sooner than she did. The lawsuit was filed to push the DNC to admit their wrongdoing and to provide Bernie Sanders supporters who supported him financially with millions of dollars in campaign contributions with restitution for being cheated. We've given money to this man, Bernie Sanders. We have spent our time calling people, knocking on doors, spreading YouTube videos. We have spent time, money, effort, sweat, supporting this man through your DNC, and you all rigged the primaries against him. We deserve restitution. That's what's being filed in federal court. On August 25th, 2017, federal judge William Zlock dismissed the lawsuit after several months of litigation during which DNC attorneys argued that the DNC would be well within the rights to select their own candidate. You see what I'm saying here? DNC attorneys argued in open court, it's our right to select, not elect. Not elect, we have the right to select our own candidate. In evaluating plaintiffs' claims at this stage, the court assumes their allegations are true. That the DNC, this is what the judge is saying. This is a quote. In evaluating the plaintiff's claims at this stage, the court assumes that their allegations are true. That the DNC and Wasserman Schultz held a palpable bias in favor of Clinton and sought to propel her ahead of her Democratic opponent. The court order dismissing the lawsuit stated. This assumption of plaintiff's allegation is the general legal standard in the motion to dismiss stage of any lawsuit. Moving on. The court must now decide whether plaintiffs have suffered concrete injury particularized to them or one certainly impending that is traceable to the DNC and its former chair's conduct. The keys to entering federal court. The court holds that they have not. The court added that it did not consider this within its jurisdiction. Federal courts are courts of limited jurisdiction, possessing only that power authorized by, so that's jurisdiction. Basically what they're saying here is You haven't been harmed. You spent millions of dollars hoping that your presidential candidate would get elected, but they have no obligation to give you a fair election. They have no obligation to give you a fair election. This is a private organization. It's a private, not a public, a private organization. They can select whoever they want. They don't have to allow you to elect anybody. So when they say, oh, your vote matters, if you vote for Cornel West, if you vote for someone else in the primaries, you're throwing away your vote. You're voting for the Republicans. Well, hey, my vote in the DNC does not matter. I've been told in 2016 that they have a right to select whatever candidate they want. So as far as the primaries go, why should you ever vote for a Democratic candidate? Why? I don't understand. Why? What's the point? Why should I vote for a Democratic candidate when the DNC has the right to select whoever they want? Riddle me that. Check this out. The court continued. For their part, the DNC and Wasserman Schultz have characterized the DNC's charter's promise of impartiality and even-handedness as a mere political promise. Oh yeah, we're impartial, we're even, we're fair. That's a political promise. It's political rhetoric. It's political rhetoric that is not enforceable in federal courts. So with this being said, I don't know why I would never. From this point forward, I will never vote for a Democratic Party, for the Democratic Party, especially not in the primaries. Never. In the general, maybe it has a little bit more pull because you're voting against the Republicans. But from where I'm standing, the Republicans are better than the Democrats. From where I'm standing, the Democrats have started more wars than the Republicans. In the last 22 years, George Bush, a Republican president, has started 2 wars. Democratic presidents, Barack Obama, started 5. Syria, Libya, Somalia, Sudan. Now, under Biden, we're getting into a proxy war in Ukraine. From where I'm sitting, the Republican Party is the voice of reason. Meanwhile, while the Democrats seem to be the warmongering party, the Republicans, somehow you all allowed the Republicans to be less warhawks than the Democrats. Not only that, the Democratic Party is democratic in name only, because they openly in federal court argue we don't have to allow the civilians to elect a presidential candidate. We, the DNC, are allowed to select whoever we want, and we do not owe voters a fair election. So that's not democracy. From where I'm sitting, the Democrats have forfeited all moral high ground. They've forfeited all moral high ground. So, where does that leave us? That leaves us here in 2023. 2020 is a crazy year. We get a new attack. This time it's biological warfare in the form of coronavirus. I gotta watch my words on this YouTube stuff. But we get attacked by this virus, right? Again, freedoms and rights are stolen. Shut down the country. Force them to wear a mask. Force them to take a jab. If they don't want to take a jab, take away their jobs. And there's a lot of Democrats yelling mask mandates. I'd say more, the Republicans are at least saying, hey, leave it to the states. We don't want, the Republicans are the ones trying to preserve our rights and freedoms in 2020. If you look at the Republican states like Florida, they're the ones saying, hey, you use your best judgment. You want to wear a mask, go ahead. You don't want to wear a mask, you take your risk if you want to. The Republican states are the ones who are trying to fight. Oh, you don't want to take the jab? You don't want to take the jab? That's fine. You make your own medical decisions. The Republicans are protecting your freedoms, while the Democrats are yelling, oh, you better take that jab or you lose your job. You better wear that mask or you're not allowed in public. The Democrats are the ones trying to take our freedoms in 2020, while the Republicans are the ones fighting for it. The Democrats have lost all moral high ground at this point. They've lost all moral high ground. They've lost all moral high ground. So, 2020, they say Trump lost at this point. At this point, the Democrats are on record saying we have a right to rig elections. Now, yeah, they were in 2016, they argued that they have the right to rig their primaries. But when Trump says, hey, the elections were rigged, that's a wash. Who am I to believe as a civilian, as a rational thinking citizen? Who am I to believe? You just argued 4 years ago that you have the right to rig elections. And now 4 years later, the president is saying that you rigged another election and I'm supposed to just assume that he's lying? I'm agnostic. I'm not saying it was rigged. I'm just saying I didn't vote for Joe Biden. The man has dementia. When he was running for president, I don't know how, praise God, he's lived this far. I'm surprised he's made it through this cycle. And it's not over yet. He has one more year. I pray that he has good health. I really do. Because it's not over yet. And please don't let him die and let Kamala Harris take over. Good Lord. Good Lord. You want a sure shot to World War III. The Democrats have betrayed all semblance of democracy. They've admitted openly in federal court that they have the right to rig elections in their own primaries. And we've had a president say that they've rigged elections again. I can believe it. Let's just say it like I can believe it. Do I believe it? I don't know. I'm agnostic. But it's not so far-fetched. It's not so impossible. It's not so impossible that it's beyond the thought. The thought is just beyond belief. No. So, we're moving into a new election year. Since 2001, September 11th, 2001, we've had the course of 22, 23 years to see how things will progress. And from what I'm seeing, we're not moving in the right direction. And we have very few options to get us out of this. The Republicans have never been very enticing to me as a black man. And the Democrats, as a thinking man, I could never support. So that only leaves me with one option. That's the third party. The third party. This year, I'm going with Cornel West. Let me know what you think. Have I gotten this timeline wrong? If you have something to add, be sure to leave it in the comments section. Tell me what you think. If you agree with me, hit the thumbs up button to support the channel. If you're new to the channel, smash the subscribe button. Dropping content all the time. I'm getting you shorts, videos, and lives. Support the channel. Come on back for more. Peace.